Well, first Holmes was born, then he got fat, bald, and tired. What's up, Holmes?
Oh, there's a hand. Now anything could be happening. I'm just gonna start talking just in case the show started. I think it did. Look at you guys! Man, I feel like I got invited to the cool hunks table in high school. Because back in the day, it was just me and that little chubby kid who got angry at everyone and loved math, and this giant Frankenstein kid who smelled and brought his Voltron toys to gym class. And now I'm with the hunks. Diego and Emmett are on the show. Diego Garcia and Emmett Butler, right? I got your names right.
Yes,
right?
yeah. Hey,
yes.
Hello.
So good to have you on the show, guys.
Thanks
This
so
is
much.
Up Holmes. This is my talk show I do on Destructoid.com. It's a weekly podcast / live chat show with video game people. I got a lot of people lined up. You know who's going to be on next week, guys?
Who?
Jonathan Blow.
No way.
Whoa. You're the opening act to Jonathan Blow. You got to be really...
We'll build up the crowd for him, I guess.
You got to be super smart today, talking about game design elements.
Well, we'll just try to be as dumb as possible, so that he seems even smarter than he is.
You'll really
help
appreciate
him out
it.
a little bit.
Yeah, that's very nice.
Guys, I'm having an audio issue. Hang on.
Uh-oh, audio issue. That's okay. We'll just talk amongst ourselves. But he'll fix the audio issue while we're not looking, I hope. I sound good to me. How do I sound to you guys?
Wonderful.
Sound perfect.
Really? You sound really
You
good
sound
too.
serene, in fact.
So have you guys always been hunks? Are you those movies with the girl who grows up with buck teeth and she's all nerdy and stuff and gross, and then she hits 18 and she's all of a sudden Kristen Stewart or something? Are you the game developer version of that, or have you always been hunks?
I would say it was a slow process. I had a pretty serious expander issue in 7th grade. My front teeth were 3 inches apart, I think.
Diego used to be a Ninja Turtle, actually.
Yeah, that's true.
That sounds hard. How about you, Emmett? Were you always
I've always been beautiful.
Wow, that's great. When did you start doing your hair like that?
A year and a half ago.
Yeah, it looks good. For people that can't see it, it's kind of a mohawk mound. I wouldn't call it a faux hawk, but it's kind of a / pompadour mohawk. Sort of Japanese cartoon tough guy look.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Oh, I mean
I like the pompadour thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks great. So anyway, you guys make video games, and you have a video game coming out soon called Heads Up Hotdogs.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes.
Okay, so what possessed you to make a game called Heads Up Hotdogs? What was in you that needed to come out in the form of Heads Up Hotdogs?
I think I got a call or a text from him one random day with this crazy idea that he had.
Yeah, it was I kind of only vaguely remember where the idea actually came from. I spent a day reading Keita Takahashi's blog about playground design and his sort of design theories, and I was I want to make a game that's really lively and fun and nonsensical and just kind of exists to make people smile and laugh. And then somehow the idea just basically came into my head completely fully formed.
Really? And Keita Takahashi, is he is Keita Takahashi, is that the Katamari guy?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so. I wasn't sure. Huh. And he hasn't really made a game since Nobi Nobi Boy, which is kind of a playground feeling.
Yeah, he sort of dropped out of the games industry to design playgrounds for a while, and I haven't checked in on that in a while, but I don't know what he's up to now.
Huh. So would you say Heads Up Hotdogs is sort of a playground for the soul? Seriously?
Yeah, I would say it's like a playground for the butt, I would say.
I've only seen the video trailer. It doesn't come out until the fall, is that right?
Yeah,
sometime in the fall.
Okay.
We don't have a firm release date yet.
Sure. You're just working on it, the two of you, so it can't be easy. But for people who haven't seen the trailer, there's some people, and they're walking, and you think, oh, people. I relate with people. This game must be about those people. No, the game isn't. You'd think, but then it turns out the game is about you, the player, befriending hot dogs. Not like cute Burger Time hot dogs or like hot dog with faces, just a regular hot dog, and you want to help a hot dog not hit the ground, so you have to drop it on people's heads. Is that right?
Yes, yes. The hot dogs have started appearing in the sky and are falling to the ground. And in order to keep them from, decomposing and getting dirty, you pick them up, put them on people's heads, and let the people carry them away to safety.
To safety.
Yes,
because clearly that's safe. Yes, and hearts come off their heads because the hot dogs love being on the head so much.
So hearts come off of the hot dogs' heads. The people don't matter to you at all.
I mean, everybody's in love in this game.
It's just about good.
Oh no, they froze. Uh-oh, did I freeze? Oh.
No, we may have lost them.
Oh, they're back.
Cool, you're back.
Oh,
You're back.
I'm
That's
sorry
good.
about that. Yeah, we lost you right on. The game's all
You're
about
back.
love. Everyone is in love in this game, and you were gonna go on from there about them all being in love. Is it real? Are they all really in love?
I was just
What about
saying
that-
it's about good feelings, happy times.
But what about that police officer? He's enraged. There's a law enforcement officer who's just firing wildly into the air, even at the hot dogs in your game.
Well, listen, in the eye of the law, you can't just go around placing hot dogs on people's heads willy-nilly. That's no good. So he's going to do whatever he can to just blast those babies out of the air.
Is he the boss? Is he the last boss of the game, or you just drop a
he's the
hot dog
main-
on him too?
He's the primary antagonist at this point.
Yeah, at the moment.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. Wow.
But the hot dogs are in love with him. They don't care that he hates them. They don't care what anybody thinks about them. They just love all humans, I think.
But you didn't have any urge to anthropomorphize the hot dogs, because most games, the main character has a face or some sort of trait that make it relatable, but you just have regular inanimate hot dogs.
Well, they only became sentient about, 1 minute ago when we said that on this talk show, so I guess that might have
Yeah, I would
something to do with it.
hesitate to call them the main character at all.
Okay, that's how I took it, what with their name being in the title and whatnot. But thank you for clarifying that. Appreciate it. Are you expecting Heads Up Hot Dogs to be a huge hit? Like a big moneymaker?
We didn't design it with that in mind. That would be great. It's a pretty simple game. We're adding a lot now, but we don't really know what it's going to become. We're both in school. We're both working full-time jobs, so it's sort of just a passion project for us at the moment.
Huh, but you wouldn't mind, it's not like you went out of your way to make a game that would be difficult for people to relate with. It's not like an intentionally off-putting game. It's just a weird game. I think it's weird.
I would say we're making, from my perspective, we're making the exact game that we want to right now, and we're just doing it because we want to.
Right. So this is the game you would buy if you could buy an iPhone game.
Yeah, I mean, when I thought of the idea, I laughed out loud, and I figured if it's going to make me laugh like that, then hopefully it'll make other people laugh also, and that would be worth something at least.
Oh, that's good. It almost seems like, I doubt you did this intentionally, but it almost feels like a parody of iPhone games. Just like random object, random thing together. Angry birds, words with friends, heads up with hot dogs. But it's not like a direct attack on iPhone games, but it's definitely taking that whole kind of just anything goes iPhone marketplace and making it kind of knowingly weird. That's how it comes across to me. I don't know if anyone's reviewed your concept like that already, but that's how I take it.
I've never heard it like that or thought about it like that, but that is very, very kind of astute, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, I don't have an interest in making games that, like, everyone's played already. So, making it weird and, it's a mechanic that lends itself to being on the iPhone.
It's really hard to play with a mouse. You can hardly do it. I mean, it's touchscreen. Multi-touch is kind of the only appropriate platform that I can think of for this interaction.
But,
interesting.
There wasn't, like, parody in mind when making it.
But to that point, like, as we show it to people, it's not like a game that people can just, in many cases right now, pick up and just know instinctively how to do it. Like, they require some little bit, which is something that we're working on from a design perspective to get to, bring that across without us having to tell them. But it's kind of a mechanic that hasn't been done that much before. If, I can't think of another game where you are doing this motion and putting things on top of people's heads.
Yeah, what exactly is the Diego, you're doing the art. Emmett, are you
Yeah.
more behind the design and the programming, or are you both programming? What's your different job descriptions?
I do the art, Emmett does programming. We're both kind of doing design together.
Awesome. And what exactly is the mechanic in the game? I know you drop the hot dogs on the heads, but you have to pick them up first. What exactly do you do when you play?
Click a hot dog, drag it, let go, and then it falls. Yeah, I mean, that's the main mechanic at the moment. There will be power-ups and stuff that will behave a little differently later. But
really? Can you give us a hint?
Hopefully. We're just working on a way to, like, basically you have a stock of 5 hot dogs in the beginning of the game, and if 5 die, then the game is over. So we're working on a way to, like, earn hot dogs back. One idea was, like, maybe a guy walking across the screen eating a hot dog, and you can just steal it from him and add it to your personal stock.
Or like a guy walking around with his mouth like wide open.
And if you drop it in,
Drop a hot dog into his mouth, get one back. Something
What
like
about is the guy who goes like this? Like,
no, the businessman.
is he actually going to be in the game and have hot dogs eject out of his mouth like that?
that
Great.
is something that we have been asked a lot since that trailer.
It's a great moment in cinema history, if you ask
It
me.
was- It was totally a joke in the trailer, but no comment on whether or not it will be in the game.
Okay, fair enough. Well, know that I'm... Whoa, sorry, camera. Know that I'm hoping that it'll be in the game, and that I think everyone who watched the trailer would love that part, too. So how did you guys get together on making games? Diego, you've already made one game as of... in December, you had made Super Flirt Off, one of my favorite games about talking to people. But this is your first collaboration for a game for sale, or is this...
Yeah.
Yeah, but you had made one other game before, is that right?
We took a break during Heads Up Hot Dogs production to do the Molly Jam. So we made one game based off of the Peter Molyneux tweet that was, I can't quote it exactly, but it was something like, what if your character...
What if your player avatar feared you, became anxious if you pressed the buttons too hard, fast, etc. So we were like reading through the tweets and trying to think of what would be fun to build a game on in 10 hours, and we picked that one.
So what happened? What's that game called? And what happens in that?
That game is called Doki Do Paniku, which is a reference to Doki Doki Panic.
Oh, good.
And panic being your character being afraid of you. Basically, the mechanic is since we had 10 hours to make it, we made one level. It's a side-scrolling level that Diego sort of designed to be demonically, like, horribly difficult. And the mechanic is basically the faster you press the buttons to make your character jump and run through this level, the more tunnel vision he gets, the more the screen letterbox is like this, and he starts to freak out more. And if he gets too freaked out, he'll actually freeze and stop moving completely and just start screaming. And then, since the level's scrolling, he'll quickly fall behind the screen and you'll die because he wasn't moving. So you have to manage the scrolling speed with how fast you're pressing the buttons. And people responded pretty well to it. People typically play it and get really upset at how hard it is and won't put it down until they finish.
That sounds awesome. That's because a lot of the Molyneux games are completely absurd or are strictly there for a joke. And they're all the ones I've played have been fun. But that sounds like a legit interesting game mechanic, guys.
Yeah, we thought it was kind of obvious based on the tweet, and that it would be cool. I mean, it's a really, really simple game that if you are good at it, you could beat in 30 seconds, but you probably won't.
And I'd say it's fairly clear that we made it in a weekend.
Yeah.
But I'm still definitely happy with how it came out.
What do you think of this move? And I'm seeing this more with people your age. So jealous of your age. When I was your age, you know what we had? We had Netscape. You know what we had? We had a JPEG that took 15 minutes to load. I couldn't be making freaking video games like you guys are when I was your age. I wish that I could have. But now there's this generation of young men such as yourself who have grown up with video games not as something that you see as purely trying to simulate other forms of fantasy entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I grew up, every video game was just trying to be Dungeons and Dragons or trying to be Star Wars. But you've seen video games as be like a thing into their own. And the absurdity of video games is something you've grown up with, and it seems like it's like in your DNA. All the games you're making are really weird. and funny.
Yeah.
I wish I was you so hard, and you're such hunks. Such good-looking hunks. Do you guys use creams and stuff? How do you do it? How do you stay
No
so
creams.
cute?
All natural.
This guy.
All natural skin? Your pores are just naturally beautiful.
Jeez, this guy, what a
Son of
flatterer.
bitch. I can't help it.
And-
I love hunks. And when I see some hunks, I'm going to let them know that they're looking
Okay.
good.
Well, hey, you look great yourself. You know,
No, I don't. Thanks.
you
So-
haven't disclosed your age, but based on the kind of things that you're talking about, I'm assuming you're at least 50, and you look very good for your age.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I like to think of myself as the Samuel Jackson of stupid videos about video games. Because
Yeah.
who knows how old he is? He could be anywhere between 30 and 65. Anyway, I got way off track with my compliments. Sorry about that. But do you feel a difference in the way that you guys are going about developing games that's beyond just the fact that you don't have a lot of money? Do you notice that you and your peers have a different way of thinking than developers who are maybe 10 years, 15 years older than you, or is that just something I see?
You know, I definitely think right now I've been fairly kind of plugged into the New York indie community, and there's definitely this push for making like small, interesting games, and I think people really want to do like a minimalistic kind of game where you're focusing on a single mechanic. More in the school of, if we're talking about big games, more in the school of Portal than in the school of like Skyrim or whatever. Just kind of keeping things focused, and I think it lets you make it like a little more elegant and really explore what you're actually trying to do and say with the game more. I don't think it's an issue of age. I think it's an issue of, you know, mostly the difference between the indie community and the big games community.
Yeah, I could see that. But at this point, I don't know of any guys who are 21 who are making AAA-sized games as of yet. I hope that happens soon. But
Well, that's a pretty tough thing to do.
yeah, would be pretty tough to get.
There are
in
probably a lot that are 21 that are like modeling bottles to put on tables in games.
Yeah.
Sure, I know some of those guys who or do level design or try to squeak their ideas in there. Actually, a lot of Molly Jam guys I know actually are working for BioWare or various big companies. So it's people who are really passionate about games in general, lucky enough to have a paying job at it and want to do indie as well. But then this other guy, I think it was Sean, the guy who's doing the music for They Bleed Pixels. He's a neat guy. I don't know if you know him.
I don't think I do know her.
Oh, I think you'd like him. He's got a little mustache, and he's funny and nice. I think he said he doesn't want people calling indie a genre anymore. Like, and I can
I don't
kind of
think
see where
it's
he's coming
that
from.
much either.
Oh,
Yeah.
indie's not. Well, what is indie then?
I don't
Tell
know if
us.
it's a
Define it.
genre. I mean, it's a scene?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I just see it as kind of a community, and I don't think it should be as separated as it is. To some extent, I think you could call like the indie movement a thing, which is the kind of people that just want to like make really simple games with the iPhone. Now you can do that, but yeah, I don't think it's a genre. I don't think you could call it that.
No, it
There are
doesn't
so
make
many
sense
different
to call
games
it
within
genre,
it.
I think.
Right. It's because indie could really mean anything. To me, it
Sure,
just
there are
means
indie
they didn't have
shooters.
any. Right. Indie first-person shooters. I just think indie means they didn't have any money. And you come into that with a certain amount of expectation. Whereas
Yeah.
if it's not indie, then it's like, well, you expect big budget or whatnot. And of course, there's always shades of gray. Like Grasshopper manufacturer from Japan, they came off as indie for a long time, but they were
Yeah.
actually making some money now. So it's hard to find where to draw that line. I
Problem with
suppose.
that though is like in a huge AAA company, you're going to need that return on investment, and very often that leads to games that end up being samey. And that's one thing that the indie community like is really free of, in my opinion, is like not because we don't have any money, like not needing necessarily as strongly to have that certain return on investment.
Yeah, you're not confined to things that you know will sell. You can experiment.
That's
a little
really what I mean. Return on investment's always good, but not necessarily being combined to that.
But I actually predict that you guys will make a lot of money. I hope so, anyway. Because as a consumer of video games, when something like PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale gets announced, and I see the videos of it, and I'm like, I technically already have that game. Like, that is so safe to the point where just looking at it, I feel like I've already beaten it, and I no longer need to actually spend any money on it. Whereas when you see Heads Up Hot Dogs, you're like, I can't even begin to imagine what that's going to make me feel like when I'm playing that. And therefore, curiosity and interest and a sense of getting something that's new kicks in, and you want to buy it. So I'm hoping you guys end up rich. But I
thank you. We hope so
Thanks.
too.
I mean, yeah, us too.
That would be great.
I think it's quite possible. And I think the whole indie thing, now that there's Indie Game the movie, I feel like that was like when Oprah first said bling bling. You remember that? When she first... You guys were like 2 years old when she first
I don't
said
remember that.
Yeah, that was like in
I remember
1996
that
or something.
it was a thing that happened. I don't know if I actually remember it happening.
You could actually... yeah, it was a moment that... It was like an eclipse of the sun, like the whole world changed. Because up until that, all the kids were saying bling bling, and then Oprah said it, and then every rapper in the world immediately removed it from their internal dictionary. She made it so uncool immediately. And Indie Game the movie is kind of getting big. It's kind of a thing
it's
people
been
are
doing
talking
really
about.
well.
Yeah, good for them.
It's
I like
good.
those games.
It's great.
Yeah, I'm happy for them. So anyway, I feel like I've just been yakking your ears off. I'm sorry, guys. Do you want to talk about any future projects you might be working on? Any secrets?
Well, we're not totally sure what we're doing next. The plan is, after this game, to take a little break and maybe do a couple game jams, just either big ones or just with ourselves. From there, there's a possibility of sort of expanding on Ultimate Flirt-Off, which is the game I made. Released in December. I actually made it for a creative submission for grad school applications. That was pretty well received, so we're going to try and maybe port that to iPad.
Whoa, awesome. You made that for grad... So weird. You know,
Yeah.
it's a game that I think is better than most games to play if you want some fun. And you just made it to... Oh, you're welcome. It's a great game. And you made it just to kind of get into school. That's crazy. Man.
Yeah, I was applying to game design schools, and I needed a creative submission, and the one thing that people said was make sure you... Or like the best thing you can do is make a game. So I was like, all right, I have 2 months. I'm going to make this simple thing. And it was like the worst 2 months of my life because it was just like I was learning to program ActionScript as I was making a game. But it came out pretty well, and it was surprisingly well received. So it feels really good. So we think we want to put it to iPad because the mechanic just lends itself to poking around.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I could see that.
It'd be nice to be able to play with the fingers.
Sure. For people that haven't played it, it is a game where you are at a party. First, you pick whether you're a boy or a girl, or you're attracted to a boy or a girl. And you're at a party, and you start to talk. And when the person talks to you, when you have to respond, you have to pick every word in your sentence. So that's exactly what it's like when you have to talk to someone who you think looks good. And,
yeah, you have 3 seconds per word. And if you don't pick a word in time, you just kind of like blurt something out. And that was originally inspired by me feeling exactly that way at a party in college.
And that's what it comes across. It comes across as such a good analog to that actual real life situation because you are, like you said, choosing each word step by step.
Right, because you want every word to be perfect when you're talking to a good-looking person. Yeah.
I was at a party.
Tell the story. Yeah.
I was at a party like freshman year of college, and I had been using the restroom, and I exited the restroom, and this girl said, "I like your glasses." And I said, "Thanks, I like your..." And then like I realized that I didn't know what the hell I was saying, and I just like felt this weird need to compliment her back. So I was like, "Sure." And like she was wearing like this weird sequin shirt that I didn't like, and then we both walked away.
But so she didn't hate you immediately. You didn't lose the game.
But she was like, and then like walked away.
It's losing the game.
Oh,
it was a bad ending.
That's a draw. I talked to a girl once. Yeah. I went to art school, and we were talking to girls, me and my friend, and I thought I was doing a good job. And my friend Jesse, who actually writes music for video games, he wrote music for Mountain Blade and Gratuitous Space Battle, stuff like that. He's a good guy.
Oh, awesome.
Anyway, he's really good. He says to this girl, "Your blonde mustache is really cute, like a peach." And I'm just like, no, she was gonna
Was that a
like us.
mistake, or?
Yeah, she didn't like it at all.
No,
See,
but
you guys think
did he
just
not
like
mean
me.
to say that? Or
He thought she was gonna be like, he appreciates my flaws and will love me anyway. But instead she was like, you don't care about hurting my feelings at all, and therefore you must hate me. And he said
That's
it with
what
this
I've been doing wrong.
yeah. So if you want some Super Flirt Off 2 material, you could stick in that Jesse Hopkins
Ultimate Flirt
line.
Off.
Ultimate Flirt Off. Is that what the sequel's called?
No, that's what the first one is called.
Oh, that's what I meant. Yeah,
Yeah,
I know what I'm
okay.
talking about. I
We
did my
know.
research. Absolutely. So what kind of features would you add for the iPad version? If you're
we were talking about a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is to just really expand the dialogue sort of map a lot. But, I've thought about the idea of, like, walking around the party and approaching someone to talk to, having to, like, go over to the keg and refill your drink if you want to do that. We want to add, like, some social elements maybe so you can sort of review your whole conversation and tweet out the funny parts.
Oh, yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, we haven't started thinking about it seriously
I think there was
yet.
some talk of there being a lot of different characters. Each of them have like specific
Yeah.
attributes.
Yeah,
right?
specific
like more,
personalities per flirtee, and like maybe different kinds of
stuff they
parties
like,
that
stuff
would
they don't
affect how much fun they're having.
Oh, that sounds great. Yeah, so to really flesh it out, make it feel more detailed and with more variables to it. Sounds excellent. It really isn't a game that a 30... Trust me, because I know old people, because that's my peer group, that's who I grew up with. They would have never thought to make a game that's just about a simple real-life event like that. They think, oh, where's the dragons? Where's the flaming sword and whatnot? They didn't see video games as a medium that's just for everyday life sort of stuff, such as that. I think the only one who kind of came close to that was the writer for Earthbound. I'm afraid I'm going to pronounce his name wrong. Itoi?
I don't know it, so
I don't know.
don't worry
Have you guys-
about it on our end.
Have you played Earthbound before?
I've played bits
Yeah,
of
I
it on an
will.
emulator, but never like all the way through.
Yeah,
Just kind
well,
of unfortunate to admit, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really
Kind of
I don't think so.
feel good about
It's
admitting
kind
that.
of no. Feel good about it because you're already making the game. What Earthbound was the building blocks for the kind of games that you're just making in your spare time.
Mhm.
It was trying to be like real life at least a little bit, where you walk around a town and buy a pizza and stuff like that. That was mind blowing in the 90s. Like, I'm not fighting a dragon. I'm just buying a pizza. This never happens in a video game. It was a start of something you're continuing with. Neat. You never even played it, huh?
One of my favorite games as a kid was and still is Crash and the Boys Street Challenge. Have you played that?
I have not, but I have played River City Ransom, and I
Right.
know Crash and the Boys is in the same family. Yeah.
Right. So Crash and the Boys is like a sports, like sort of like an Olympic sports game, but with like street fights. So there's like an official like swimming race, but you're also beating the shit out of each other while you're. Can I say that? While you're racing. But my favorite part of that game, weirdly, is the part before the match where you're like walking around with your girlfriend and she's like taking you into the stores so you can buy
Going to all the shops.
sneakers and
Oh, potions.
piranhas to help you in your way.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. Have you played River City Ransom?
I played bits of that too. I never played it all the way through.
It's the same thing. You just buy hamburgers and like books and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Take a bath. It's a great game.
Yeah.
Emmett? I feel like I've been neglecting you, Emmett. Now that we're talking about games,
I don't know if I would say that.
I'm going to use the restroom and you guys chat. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
I have a really small bladder. That's just a thing.
Hey,
That's
Jonathan.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. I don't feel neglected. Don't worry.
I never look down at the people I'm talking to. I always make eye contact with the camera, so I haven't been sure actually how much you've been talking.
Oh, don't worry about it.
Oh, thanks. You're very nice. What games did you play growing up? What influenced you to want to make those video games?
I played a lot of Nintendo 64 because that's how young I am. That was my first system, and I was really into Diddy Kong Racing, and I was really into a lot of racing games, actually, believe it or not.
Really? Huh. They're
Surprisingly.
well, in terms of being about gameplay as opposed to just other junk, storylines and whatnot, racing games are legit. There's a mechanic to them that can feel like an interesting hook, especially Diddy Kong Racing. That was a great game for the time, I'd say.
Yeah. I'm wondering what else I've played. That I was really, really into when I was younger. I remember liking like that game Lego Racers, where you could like build your own like Lego car and then race it.
That sounds good.
I don't know how you it's a crappy like branded game. It's like a franchise game. But I think there's actually something to that. I don't know.
Absolutely, I think the Lego games have defied that because their building blocks literally are creativity. That's what the games are built on. Quick question. Yeah, I know, genius, comedy genius. Do you hate Wii games? Because most of the people I know who grew up on N64 do not like the Nintendo Wii very much. They see it as like sucky.
I wouldn't say that at all. I wouldn't say that I hate the Wii. I would say that I've played a lot of games that have Wii versions and then also like GameCube versions or PS2 versions, and I always like the non-Wii version better. In most cases, like the Twilight Princess, kind of surprisingly, like Zelda Twilight Princess, I was much more into the GameCube version than the Wii version. Like Resident Evil 4 is another one where I feel like it actually lost. Surprisingly, it actually lost something by being able to like point your pointer like it's a gun, you know.
Interesting.
You're familiar with Resident Evil 4?
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's one of my favorite.
So you know how you have the laser sight, right?
Yeah.
Like that was I don't think I'd ever played another third-person shooter like that where you didn't have a little targeter thing. You just had a laser sight, and it made it feel so much scarier. And then they took that away in the Wii version in favor of this like aim thing, and it felt so much less terrifying, which is something that I really liked about that game to begin with. You know, I don't know if that's related to me growing up on N64.
No, I think you're just being smart.
I would say.
What'd you say?
I love the Wii.
No one says that. You just said that?
No, I do. I love the Wii. I hate most of the games on the
too.
Wii, but I think the Wii is awesome and should be so much more awesome than it is, but it just has no support. Nobody's making interesting games for it.
Yeah. I'm actually writing an article all about that, about Wii myths, Nintendo myths in general. People think that third parties don't get any support on the Wii, but Nintendo supports them. They just don't like force them to make Grand Theft Auto 4 on it, so they don't. Anyway, I could go on about that. Good point about Resident Evil, though. I like Resident Evil on the Wii quite a bit, but it isn't as scary because you're more empowered. You can just aim at the guy's head and blow it off, so you don't feel that tension of slowly moving your thing towards the head, and he gets out of the way.
Yeah, and in my opinion, that game needs all the help that it can get to be scarier. So the Wii version did not do it any favors there.
I could see that. I like it as an action game a little more, but as a horror game, it's probably better on the GameCube. And then Resident Evil 6. I don't know if you guys have played that.
Is that out?
No. That's, I'm a game journalist guy, so they send me into the room and make me play the game that doesn't come out.
So yeah, we probably wouldn't have played that.
No, I think the demo is out if you bought Dragon's Dogma.
Oh, I didn't do that.
I didn't think so.
Sorry.
It's just not a horror game at all anymore. You're just sliding around on your knees and going through zombies' legs and shooting them in the crotch while you're under them, and zombies come out with Uzis and stuff like that.
Which is great.
Yeah. In its own way.
But I do love a scary game. I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
I think there are plenty of zombie action games we could probably do without more of those at this point.
Well, that's what I'm all about, is staying true to what the series was supposed to be. If you wanted to just make a cool action game with mutants and zombies, you could just make something else. But tacking Resident Evil on it, but abandoning the core Resident Evil gameplay mechanics makes me sad.
Yeah.
Looks like Samuel L. Jackson is 63, according to Sinistar, our engineer.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it could be 63. I wonder if we're going to get some questions soon. I hope so. Are you guys interested in questions?
Oh, well, we got a bunch of questions.
Awesome. I'm going to read them out loud.
Yeah.
Starting with Insultobot, does Heads Up Hotdogs have an end level? Is it like Tetris, and it gets faster and faster, or does it have a definitive climax?
So per level, it starts out pretty easy, and it gets generally faster and faster, like per level. And we've made it so that a typical game lasts about 2 minutes. And then if you get a high score per level, you can advance, and each level is kind of more and more difficult. And I guess we're thinking about adding some different aspects. So it's more than just hot dogs falling. We're going to change the way they move some way to make it a little bit more confusing, a little bit more challenging, and more varied, I guess. But it will get generally harder. Yeah.
Change the way the hot dogs move?
Yeah, so like, you know, like environmental effects, things that would affect the physics of the stage. Without getting too specific, we're just like exploring ways to do that.
Yeah, we're playing around with a lot
Are
of
you
different
going to do a wind
possibilities
stage? Whoa. If you do like a Frogman from Mega Man 4 wind stage, where the hot dogs are getting blown in the windy rain, that would be amazing. I really look forward to seeing what he came up with.
Cool.
Yeah. Or hint more if you want. I didn't mean to cut you off. That was bad journalism.
The wind stage, we are hoping to have a wind stage.
Since you mentioned it.
We're doing, you know, starting with different cities, and then we'll go international cities probably. And one of them will be Chicago, because the Chicago dog. And it's the windy city, so maybe we'll put some wind in there because of the Chicago dog. Yeah.
You're gonna
Because of the Chicago dog.
Oh wow! Look at that hot dog. Pickles, tomatoes,
Show
sports
off my cool
peppers.
prints.
What are sport peppers? You don't have to answer that.
They're like sweet.
I was actually going to ask you that before. I just thought it was you love sports.
For those listening
It's
to the
peppers
audio
for
version
sport.
of the show, our guest just held up a poster of Chicago hot dogs. And there's sports peppers on there. Moving on, Zoe Quinn, former guest on this very show a few weeks back. Hi, Zoe. Thank you for watching the
Yeah,
show
she
and
just
answering
tweeted
questions. What's that?
She just tweeted at me.
Yeah, she's awesome. What made you guys want to start making games? That's something I asked Zoe, and I should ask you too. Why'd you want to start making those video games anyway?
You want to go first?
Okay. I've always played games my whole life, as I'm sure most people who get into games have. I used to like wake up early before middle school so that I could play one day of Harvest Moon before I went to school. And then I got to college, and my undergrad major was digital media, which I did because I couldn't decide whether I wanted to do games or animation. And while I was there, I decided that I hated coding and I was never going to make games. And then I finished college and realized that I kind of didn't want to do freelance animation, and that I really did want to make games. So I started teaching myself to code and do it. I don't know. I think there's like games have this cool power to like bring people together, and I started realizing that like there aren't that many games with the local multiplayer anymore, which really makes me depressed. And I came to New York and I started finding the indie scene, things like Baby Castles, which is like an indie games gallery that puts on shows all the time. NYU has been doing a lecture series. The NYU Game Center like invites game designers to give talks there. And I just realized that like it would be so easy for me to make games, and I started doing it.
Awesome. Yeah, compared to freelance animation, where you're just doing other people's ideas, just drawing the Nestle Quick Bunny, being really happy about Quick.
Right.
Oh, it's good, and that you spent like a month on that. That's awful. But for animator, I think making games is as close as you can get to kind of the same freedom that an indie comics artist and writer would have. You can animate, but have a fully fleshed out world, realistically created in a few months.
Right, and the goal is that I would like my games, for the most part, to be ideas that if I haven't come up with, that at least like I'm in on the creation of and feel passionate about. So I can kind of make what I want.
Yeah, good on you. Happy you're doing that. And you, Emmett, what got you wanting to do this thing?
So my path to making games has been a very kind of strange one. Like I of course played video games like crazy when I was very young, and I remember like I would make these sheets where I would write up all the ideas I would have for like this new. I remember the one that I'm thinking of is the one where all of the Zelda characters are going to get together and have a fight, and that this is my idea for a game. And this was, I'm pretty sure, before Super Smash came out. So read into that what you will. But
Genius.
But I remember like I would get a lot of fun out of mapping out the ideas, like what everybody's moves were going to be and all these things. And then there was a time, middle school, and actually most of high school, when I wasn't into games at all, wasn't playing games, and I certainly wasn't coding or anything like that. I was really into music, and I actually ended up going to school for music technology, which I'm still like kind of into, but I realized at a certain point that like where I should be, or where I was supposed to be all this time, was computer science, and specifically games. So I've been double majoring in that for like two years now, I think, and I actually started coding when I came to school. I hadn't ever coded before that, and I guess I always kind of view it recently as like somehow coming like weirdly full circle to what I always thought I wanted to do when I was very young.
Huh.
I feel that way very much.
Yeah, there was a long period where I was like, I remember I used to be like really, really into video games, and I used to get a kick out of designing these ideas for them and stuff, and then I was like, I'm never going to do that again. I'm really into music now, or whatever. So it's interesting that I've like come full circle and found myself in New York City with this awesome indie game scene that I'm quickly becoming a part of.
Huh. You make it sound so cool. I have to wave my hand real quick. Did that work? How focused do I look now?
Oh, you're fine. I think you're good.
Yeah. It's you guys, and Zoe Quinn was the same way. She's like, oh, yeah, I make video games. I also am a fire dancer and like play lead guitar in the new Runaways band. I'm like, what? You people are so far from nerds. They're so cool. And you too. Like, I studied music and I was going to jam out. And then I was like, video games are cool, so I'll make those.
I actually still study music. I'm actually still majoring in that. I'm still a double major because I could never fully commit to the idea of quitting that. So I actually decided to do both, and I'm in school for a lot longer than I might have been otherwise.
But I don't think you could say that we are not nerds.
I do not think that's fair to say in the slightest.
I don't know. Most not nerds think they're nerds, I noticed. And most nerds I know don't think they're nerds at all. They think they're so awesome.
Sorry.
I think we're capable of coming off as like socially adapted people, but we also watch a lot of anime and tweet about it a lot.
Yeah.
I think that might be cool now, guys. I'm pretty sure anime is cool now. I don't know. I can't tell anymore. When I grew up, it was called Japanimation.
Yes. I discovered anime one day homesick, and I found my brother's VHS of Neon Genesis Evangelion in the drawer. I went to school the next day, and I was like, I watched the coolest Japanimation the other day. And this kid was like, you can be called racist for saying that.
But that's such a nice ring to it. Yeah, it fits right together. Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's interesting, Emmett, that you're so interested in music and also programming. Do you think just languages in general are interesting to you? It's because that's the common thread there.
I mean, I definitely think so, and that's a whole other question: is music actually a language or not? I mean, I would say that it is. No, I can definitely see the parallels. I think your brain works in similar ways when you're, I don't know, improvising something on the piano versus coding something. I mean, obviously these are two very different things, but I think there are common threads that occur in terms of thought patterns that you go through, sort of logical, logic systems. And we have one kind of more overt than the other.
Sure. With music, there's more. Some would say there's more room for experimentation, but programming, you can innovate and find new ways to use the language to.
And that's actually something that I've kind of argued with people about before, is whether or not there is creativity in coding, and the parallel between music and coding kind of makes me think about that. And I've always thought that there is a lot of creativity in the, I mean, art really of programming, and in terms of there being many different ways to solve a single problem. There's not, you are trying to go for the solution to one problem. Unlike if you're writing a piece of music, it's totally open-ended. If you're designing a game, even like it's very open-ended, you can do whatever you want. You're within a set of constraints much more heavily if you're programming than you are if you're in one of those. But I do think the same rules apply.
Yeah, it seems to me that they do, and that if you enjoy languages either way, you could get into that. And just moment-to-moment experiences, which I think is what video games are about. in general. A lot of people think some video games are meaningless. I don't think so. I think that every game is about moment-to-moment experiences, and you can find meaning in those potentially, especially if you bother to take a look at what you're doing. There could be some meaning in there. Right, Hunks? Look at you, Hunks. Look at you just smiling. And I feel like I was saying before, I feel so cool just talking to you guys. Well, we have more questions coming in. Say Gaia asks, what are some of the visual designs for the levels in Heads Up Hotdogs? What do you want to give away any facts about things you might do?
Just describe them.
Yeah, like what can we expect to see visually from the places you'll be in Heads Up Hotdogs?
I mean, it's kind of going to be like a hodgepodge of different locations. You know, we're going to start with some U.S. cities, hopefully like familiar landmarks within them, possibly popular hot dog places within them. We're probably going to have a level that takes place in Japan. So we're not sure if we'll go like the hyper, sort of like Shinjuku electric city area, or like a more like hot springy or like, you know, bamboo forest kind of thing with that. We're like trying to avoid stereotyping the people too much. So I don't know, there's a lot of consideration going into it. But yeah, we're going to do a whole bunch of stuff. We don't know it all yet. But.
It gives me such a special pixel art feeling, what you're talking about, because the games I grew up with, all pixel art, this is before polygons, every game was like Japan and New York City, and just like, why am I traveling the world now? But it's just because they wanted to use pixel art to depict real things so badly that they were tempted to show off with the whole world like that. And you're doing that too. Diego, how did you get into pixel art, being such a young man? Didn't you want to do polygons like all the other kids were doing?
That's actually, I mean, I said I studied animation. The focus at school was 3D animation. I didn't love that, and I wanted to do 2D, so I was doing like Flash vector stuff for a while. And then I decided, I think it was after playing like, I don't know if you've played Where We Remain. It's a little indie game by Twofold Secret that I love. And after playing that, I was like, I'm going to make an art game, and it's going to be about a monster like Godzilla, like marching over this city, and then like he gets defeated and goes back into the ocean, and it's like an endless loop. It just starts over, whatever. Which is an art game, believe me. And so I just like started like playing with pixels, because I was playing like a lot of Flixel games and stuff, and it took me a long time to get anywhere near as good as I am now. And I don't think I'm like that good now. I think there are a lot of better pixel artists than I am, but you know, you start to develop your own style and pull in your style from whatever you used to draw. I say used to because I never draw on paper anymore, but like sort of the style that you had built up doing whatever other art you used to do. It just kind of starts to form, and you figure out what resolution you're comfortable working at and learn about colors as you're going.
Yeah, I love your style a lot. It's
Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. It's got a feeling of hand-drawn without trying to be hand-drawn. It's not like trying to be like Disney or, you know, Super Street Fighter 3 or whatever. But at the same time, it's not relying on the minimalism to force the viewer to fill in all the blanks for you. You're willing to do a nose on a guy and big eyeballs and stuff like that. And those little legs you do, what fine little legs. They look so vulnerable, like you just push over everybody in your games, which is a nice feeling. Yeah, great job with the artwork. I hope you continue it. License to Bill asks, having had to go back to older consoles with emulation, what game stood out without the crutch of nostalgia? That's a great question. Games you did not grow up with that are old and you've played them for the first time. Are there any games that have stood out as really good?
I actually, okay, so in Brooklyn there's a barcade that we go to pretty frequently. And some of our friends have been playing Ghosts and Goblins there a lot.
That game is amazing.
And that's a game that my older brothers played a lot. I have like an album that my brother made of video game music in high school that has like tons of Ghosts and Goblins music on it.
That is
but I never played it.
It's such a good example of arcade, the type of arcade style difficulty that I love.
Yeah, just like super
where
hard.
it's like the same or almost the same every time, and you just have to do it so many times until you can get like that one extra little bit farther.
Yeah,
and it's also just like really silly, like the kind of stuff that we've been working on. So I don't know, it kind of fit really well with me somehow.
That's great to hear. I always, like, that game legit terrified me. That came out when I was like, 10 or 11, and that was almost as scary as games got back then, like zombies.
I remember I've heard people say that about Splatterhouse, and a friend gave me Splatterhouse, and he was like, dude, this game's so scary. And it was like, I was so scared of this game when I played it. I was expecting, I don't know what I was expecting because it's a Genesis game, but of course it's not scary now.
Yeah, I had Splatterhouse on the TurboGrafx-16, the higher energy video game system, and I was freaking terrified of the possessed chair. Oh yeah,
I just can't even imagine that though. I just can't. I guess like it's just the context in which I've grown up around video games. I can't even imagine that being scary.
I remember going.
I literally can't imagine it.
I remember going to a friend's house. He was kind of like a rude kid, and I went to his house and we like watched Beavis and Butthead and played Splatterhouse, and I was like, my mom cannot find out about this.
Dude, I did something like just like that, except it was a lot less like bad. I wasn't being as bad with it. I remember doing that. That's when I played Ocarina of Time for the first time, and I was like, "What is this?"
I could see
that. Shadow Temple is sort of my baseline of what is scary in a video game is Shadow Temple Ocarina of Time. Because that's what I grew up with, and I was terrified of the Shadow Temple.
Yeah, they did a good job with that.
And I didn't have any context in which to be scared of games prior to that.
Sure. That makes sense. I wanted to ask how you guys got together making games as a team. That's a relatively new thing.
So I guess it was we met on Twitter, which is a thing I find myself repeating quite a lot with many of my friends these days. But like I became addicted to Twitter for one reason or another, tweeted a lot. Eventually, Diego started responding to my stuff every once in a while, just like noticing that we had common interests.
I think you were tweeting at me once in a while, and so like I would respond.
Okay, yeah, maybe. Somehow we sort of connected on Twitter, and then it was a chip music festival in I guess last year.
Yeah, Blip Festival
last year. When I was tweeting about, oh my gosh, I'm going to go to this cool thing, and he was like, oh, I'm going to be there. We should like high five. I think he said we should high five, and I should like see your mohawk or something. And I remember I just kind of like hung around with you the whole night because I didn't know anyone else there, and you seemed to be okay with it.
Well, I had only lived in New York for a little bit, and I didn't really know very many people either, so I had a friend in from DC that was with me, and then, actually not that night, and then, so I was alone that night, and then Emmett was like, let's hang out, whatever, and
then I remember walking up to other people and going, are you Diego?
Yeah, I met a ton of people there, actually. I met like the Mr. Gift crew there for the first time. I met Ramiro Corbetta there for the first time.
Yeah. We both met a lot of people through that scene specifically. But I guess after that we like would hang out every once in a while, and then like you were finishing Flirt Off and we're like, I have this idea for a game.
Yeah.
You're good at coding. Do you want to make it with me? I was like, yeah. And that's basically where we find ourselves like 6 months after that happening.
Yeah, it's weird how many like real life friendships and like not real life friendships, but almost real friendships that I've made through Twitter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really
I had to get used to being able to say that a while ago, and it's still a little weird.
I've dated people on that Twitter.
I have not done that. Or no, never mind. That's not true.
I met my wife on MySpace. Makes you feel better. And it's not like we just got married.
True?
Yeah, we met
awesome.
on MySpace in 2003? Something like that, yeah. Yeah, and we've been married for years now, so it's not like one of those World of Warcraft marriages where we play online together for a long time, then meet in real life and get married the next week, and then are divorced a month later. We're like a legit couple. It's awesome.
Well, congratulations.
She made me a sandwich. Thanks, man. And you guys could be married to each other in terms of friendship and professional relationship after this. It happens these days.
We're pretty close bros. We've been hanging out for a while.
I can tell. That's great.
We're pretty good bros.
Because guys don't like other guys a lot of the time. They're like, "What are you doing here?" Well, no, go away.
Yeah,
But you guys
usually
are-
when I see them, I just like kind of bare my teeth until I back down. But something about,
Actually, I
something
more
about
just sort
Emmett's
of like
tuft.
cower in fear.
Really? You seem too hunky for that. All right, where was I? More questions from I Love Diego Garcia. As a
Hey,
person.
Oh, dude, lucky you.
jeez,
What do you hate the most about video games? What a good question. Just in general. And people are debating as to what even... You were talking about art games earlier. I don't personally like that term.
I don't think
don't
that
either,
art
but
games should
you
be
sounded
a thing
half-
that people say.
You sounded half joking when you said it, but and some people are saying we need to stop saying video games because that doesn't even mean anything. I think it's too late for that. If a term's been around for 40 years and just kind of part of the vernacular, you can't. Really
I also
delete
think
at that point.
it does means a game that incorporates video, as far as I'm concerned. Like,
But then
does
you
have a
get
meaning,
Johann
but it is
Sebastian
applied to-
Jouch.
yeah,
That's the example I was just thinking of.
I would call that
Yeah.
a computer game.
We were having this argument the other day, and I never got to talk to you about your opinion on it.
Yeah, I would call Joust a computer game.
I think it's an
Interesting.
analog game. I actually think it's an analog game.
I don't know, because it's made with computers. You need a computer to play that game, and the game would be vastly different if you played it without, I think.
A PlayStation 3 computer type thing.
Just
You
the
link the
controllers.
controllers
Yeah.
into your computer, and your computer acts as the host and also plays the music and adjusts the speed of the music.
I feel like there's got to be something to be said, though, for, like, with that case specifically, how I feel like the primary mode of interaction with it is an analog one, and that you could pretty easily, I think, play something very similar to Joust without it.
Similar, but like you'd need a judge that is judging how fast you're moving your wand. You know, like it gets really complicated.
Sure. You
How
need
fast
some
you're
sort of
Yeah,
electronic-
and that's kind of why I stopped having that Twitter argument with you, because I do agree with that, but part of me wants to say that it's like somehow deeper than that. Still, I'm a little bit uncomfortable with just writing that off as like being a computer game and that's all it is, because to me there's
No,
something
it's
like
more. I mean,
more
it's
than
yeah,
that. You
it's
know?
definitely like evolved past like you know, it's not a text adventure, but I think I would call it a computer game.
I mean, if we're talking semantics about what do you call it, then yes, I would call it as well.
Sure. I would be, if you called it a computer game, it wouldn't tell me anything about it other than
Right.
it's just a thing with computers.
Well, I mean, I would if I were describing it, I would say it's like a folk game that you play with PlayStation 2 controller or PlayStation Move controllers. But you know, in terms of like categorizing it,
Yeah,
I
mean,
wouldn't say
I'm
that it's
fine
an
with
analog
that.
game.
Folk game? Good God. Man, it never
Well,
ends.
is
It's
it a
inspired
folk
by
game?
folk games.
Oh, yeah, but it was designed by a small team, am I right?
Yeah, I mean, I
So it's not a folk game.
I
in
think
that
it was
sense.
basically just Doug Wilson, and then, you know, and he's with the Copenhagen Games Collective now.
Yeah.
but I
But,
think,
the
like,
amount of
the original
new
design
labels. I mean, we never end with our labels. Folk. I think I'd heard folk game before.
Well,
But
I
that's
think
gonna.
That happens a lot. That happens in a lot of different media. Is that like this desire to subcategorize
Yeah.
everything, and that's like not a great thing, in my opinion.
Well, I think you can run into trouble by accidentally saying things you don't mean to say. I think folk game is actually really good because I immediately get the sense that this was people in a collective making something for the sake of making it. But at the same time, folk game says to me, I don't know if you've seen A Mighty Wind. I just think of those guys immediately, and either corny guys or guys that have a really deep message that doesn't mean anything to me.
Well,
So I don't think Johann Sebastian Joust is either of those things.
No, I don't think so.
to me, folk just means that it's designed not like deliberately by any one person or group, but it is like a collective product of years or months.
Well,
or
and I
something.
think what Doug
Keep
says
moving.
when he's talking about the game is that it's, or when he's talking about folk games, is that they're basically games that you can play with sort of whatever you have around. Like one of the ones he used as an example was, trying to remember, I think you're blindfolded and you have to move in slow motion at all times, and you have to try and hit each other with wooden spoons. but it's not dangerous because you're moving in slow motion. But then like it's really fun for you to play. You can pick up and play whenever you want, and it's also really fun for everyone else to watch because you look like an idiot when you're doing it. That's like one of the direct inspirations for Joust.
So that's a folk game in the sense that you can play it with just stuff you have around.
Right. So Joust,
but it was like designed by a guy. Like
yeah.
It wasn't. Well, it didn't emerge from.
It could have been like a couple.
But this guy is choosing to like label it as his own, as a thing that he's saying like this is my unit of
well, but
design.
that wasn't designed by this guy. That's a game that inspired Joust.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Whoa! That was some serious. Wow, you guys are nerds, kind of. Yeah, the cool nerds.
I'm just like vomiting up everything that Doug said in his GDC speech. So
no, that was great because I've been thinking about the definition of nerd lately. To me, a nerd is anyone who can just take something really seriously that probably isn't gonna change the world in terms of stopping cancer or curing poverty or anything like that. But then again, maybe video games will do that. Who knows? I don't know. I hope so. I want to get to more questions, though, because I feel like a jerk. I've been ignoring them. Unsaltobot, and you never actually... I never let you answer your question. The last one. About what don't you like about video games, or what do you hate about them? Asks I Love Diego Garcia.
The only thing I can think of to that is what I hate about the current state of the industry. And it's that the prevalence of what I kind of term as like cookie cutter games. I hate to say it, and I don't know, Diego might not like this, but I always hold up Call of Duty as an example of games that...
I don't play that game, shut up.
I always hold up that franchise as an example of a franchise that has been, or if not, if all of its iterations haven't been similar to each other, it embodies the spirit of like samey games that are made to be very safe bets for the companies that are making them.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I hate that about those games. I started playing that game because my roommate bought one.
I mean, it's hard to deny that they're fun to play.
Yeah, I mean, he bought one. It was one that had local multiplayer, so that like was immediately I was like, I want to play that with you now. I got addicted, and now I play alone online, which is like something that I'm not the craziest about. But like, I mean, not that I'm against online gaming, but like, that's not like what drew me into the game. But I was talking to someone about this on Twitter the other day. Like, he said, like, he pointed out that these games are basically designed to be able to be played forever. Like, with Black Ops, which is the one that I play, like, when you get to level 50, it just like shoots you back down to level 1, so you can start like unlocking everything again.
Prestige, yeah.
And like DLC exists now, so like, why can't we just like keep getting new maps and like adjust the game slightly? Why do we need to like buy another $60 game to be able to play? Yeah.
Even diehard Call of Duty fans. Yeah. I know a lot of guys who play competitively, and even they are saying they feel ripped off at this point. They've bought so many Call of Duty games, and they love ridiculous. Them. But the business model is really what's flawed, as opposed to the game itself.
Yeah, and I don't mean to focus so heavily on that one franchise. It's more.
No, it's a good example.
Just sure, yeah. It just meant to be illustrative of how that's kind of like a very prevalent thing that happens. The sort of sameness.
I think in every competitive game it happens. I don't know why. Street Fighter, same thing. Just
is that because the fans will get so angry if anything significant gets changed between versions?
I think so. When they tried to change Street Fighter, that's when the games bombed. Street Fighter 3, one of my favorite games in the series, definitely one of the least popular ones. But at the same token, they didn't have DLC back in those days, so you had to buy a whole new cartridge when the new Street Fighter update. So I don't think that's going to last for too much longer. A lot of Call of Duty fans I know liken it to just loving wine, being like a wine aficionado. And they say, oh, this one tastes a little bit different. There's a hint of nuttiness in this one. And there's the flowery aroma. But they just really love drinking wine and getting drunk.
Black Ops, a hint of recoil.
Yeah,
exactly.
Being a Street Fighter fan, I can actually relate to that. I was about to say that I can't take it seriously. I mean, I can. It's a little bit silly to me somehow, but I can take it seriously. Yeah, I mean,
there are fine details that make a difference, but they do just like getting drunk too. Did you both get to answer that question? I don't want to move on before I Are you happy with your answers,
I didn't
fellas?
answer it specifically, but like I don't know. There's not a lot that I hate about video games. I wish like there were more of a focus on making things that are really different. And but I mean, you know, there's becoming one, and like I don't hate AAA games. I play AAA games, but you know, sometimes I just wish there were more games I wanted to play. I don't know. You know, like there's so many games that come out. That
I wish bigger developers got more psyched about doing gameplay, like interaction types that no one has ever seen before.
Yeah,
and like I would love it. I would love it if, you know, far less first-person shooters got released per year than do now.
Like if these big studios would focus on making like a really cool Kinect game, or like a really cool, I don't know, like a really cool Wii U game, even though who knows whether or not that would be worth playing at all.
It would just be cool if that was the focus, instead of making money off of the next iteration of whatever series.
Yeah, I think Nintendo, I'm going to get called a fanboy for this, but I think they're the closest that a big company has come to doing that, because the Wii was a huge risk, but it was all about trying to do a new kind of interaction. And their like headlining game for their big new console is Pikmin 3.
Yeah, which is awesome.
I mean, what? Really no one cares about that. I love Pikmin. I've been playing Pikmin 2. Oh. No one cares about those games.
No, I mean, no one does care about it, but they're big games, but no one cares about it.
But it's different. I mean, actually, I get angry at Nintendo because I really want to see new IP come out of them, but like, I'm glad that they're at least going back to one that's sort of been underproduced.
Sure.
Better than making the next new Mario X game.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they're doing that too. They're playing it safe Mario lately.
Yeah, but at least they're doing both.
I think they do put out a good amount of new IP, though. It's just no one pays attention to it. Like Xenoblade is Nintendo, and they came out, you know, a few months ago.
Yeah.
No one bought it. Nobody cared. I don't think Nintendo of America markets new IP with them at all. Sin and Punishment, that was relatively new. I like that game a lot. Anyway, now I'm just talking about me. Sorry. I just like talking to people, and I want you guys to know me as I get to know you, and then friendship happens. It's wonderful.
I feel like
and Saltobot asks, what's that?
I feel like we're old friends by now.
Are we friends
easily.
now?
Easily.
That's awesome. I feel the same thing. I didn't want to say it, though, because I'd be really hurt if they were like, actually, we're just on the show to promote our game. Go away, bald fellow. What game other than your own are you currently playing, asks Insultobot.
You want to go first?
Dead Space 2. And I know it's old. I know it's a little bit old at this point, but I don't own any current consoles or a powerful gaming computer, so I've only gotten a chance to play it on friends' equipment. But that game is crazy. And
yeah, they turned it up a notch for sure. And you like Resident Evil 4 a lot, so that must fit.
Yeah, I haven't played the first Dead Space. I don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about Dead Space 2 other than the like 5 hours that I've played of it so far. But yeah, Resident Evil 4, it's like the first really awesome like zombie action experience that I've gotten since that game. Like,
yeah, I could see that.
I can't think of a game I've played between those two where I was trying the same room over and over, thinking like, okay, I just have to like, you know, if I kill that guy first, then I run over here and get the power up, and then I like, you know, make sure I do it this. Like that is something I really like in action games, specifically of that general ilk, you might say, is where they have that kind of arcadey difficulty where they do in some cases force you to like try the same thing over and over until you get really good at it. I mean, I'm into that, and I'm into obviously the whole survival horror aspect. Not that I'm saying Dead Space 2 is survival horror at all, but I like the aesthetic a lot. I
think it's survival horror. It's much closer to action than, let's say, Resident Evil 3 or something, but it's still, like you said, you feel trapped. You have to make a plan in order to escape and attack at the same time.
Yeah, so it doesn't fall into the trap of Resident Evil 4, where as soon as you get this shotgun, you just win the game, basically. You're right about that.
If you're good. Yeah, I mean, everyone's as good as you, but...
That shotgun's powerful, though, man. You know what I'm saying, though? Like, you have your little crappy gun in the beginning, and then as soon as you get the shotgun, you're just, like, this whole other level of being able to kill zombies. And
it's true.
Anyway, that's a good point, actually. Maybe it is farther down the survival horror spectrum than I originally sort of had it pegged as. But I wouldn't call it full-on survival horror. I would not agree with that.
Yeah, action is definitely part of the selling point and part of the intent and part of what people like about it. So it's somewhere in there. I think I used to think Ghosts and Goblins was definitely survival horror. Totally. Well, because I was terrified of that. and
I mean,
you
survival is
are
the hardest
screwed.
part. Yeah.
I'm sorry. What? I missed it.
Survival is
What'd you say?
definitely the hardest part of that game.
Yeah, man, it's hard, and it's your moment-to-moment decisions make such a huge difference as to whether they're going to get you. They're constantly coming at you.
I've probably spent $20, $25 on that game.
In the last 2 months.
Like, easily. Yeah,
Did you play
yeah.
Have you played the PSP one, Ultimate Ghosts and Goblins?
No. I remember there was
Awesome.
a Game Boy Color one, too, wasn't there? There was
I think that was just a port of the first one.
Yeah,
Pretty
Ghosts and
sure
Ghosts.
it's
Okay.
Ghosts and Goblins, Ghouls and Ghosts, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, and then Ultimate Ghosts and Goblins on the PSP.
Okay.
Pretty much all of them. I love those games a lot. I'm glad you guys like them too.
Pinnacle
Makes
of
me feel
Survival
like I'm
Horror.
cool. Yeah, I'm like a hip young kid like you. No, feels great. License to Bill. Oh, I'm sorry, Diego. You didn't get to answer what game you're currently playing.
Well, I recently got the Pikmin 2 re-release because I never actually played the Pikmin games before recently. I do a lot of like picking up games and putting them down. I played a little bit of Amnesia. I played a little bit of Bastion. I beat Uncharted 3 a couple months ago. We don't have a ton of time. Like, I work full time and then we work on the weekends.
We work
So.
all
Sure.
the time.
Yeah, it's the same with me and Destructoid. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But it's hard to put down Pikmin 2. I think Pikmin 2 is a brilliant game for...
So cool.
Yeah, isn't it?
I'm just like picturing somebody like just staring at an anthill and being like, aha! Whenever I play, it's just like it's so different. Awesome.
I took it as because it was originally going to be about cavemen,
Really?
and it was going to be like realistic graphics with cavemen and dinosaurs and stuff like that. Yeah, the giant spotty bulborbs were going to be Tyrannosauruses. But Miyamoto is really into gardening, so he went in that direction with it.
Yeah.
But either way, it's just I see it as a metaphor for how Miyamoto feels as being in charge of all these guys who he kind of respects, but kind of wouldn't mind if he threw them into the mouth of a dinosaur in order to meet his own goals. It's like being a boss
I feel
and
so
how
bad.
you're both. Yeah, it's an art game, if you ask me.
The last time I picked the game up, I went into a dungeon with, I think, like, the max I think you can have at a time is 100. I went into a dungeon with 98, and I left with a 1. That's so bad.
Yeah,
So many
that game is
souls
hard.
lost.
You can get slaughtered in that game bad. I
But
end
that's
up
what I mean,
resetting
like-
a lot.
That's what I mean about being brave and like doing something different. Like, who the hell has the idea to make like a puzzle gardening? I mean, I guess there are actually probably a couple puzzle gardening games, but
Not
who's like,
from
I'm going to
huge-
spin this game as a gardening game? Yeah, from a huge developer and like with like a really cool like, it's like
The
also
mechanic
kind of
would actually
action.
works as both action and sort of like a puzzly aspect of it as well.
Yeah, a real-time strategy game about carrot people on a small scale where you get like, and it's not a kid's game. Like you have to be good at that game or you will die hard.
Absolutely.
I mean, have you fought the flaming one, the flaming bullbacks?
I fought a couple of those.
Gatling Groink.
Like, what?
Have you seen the Gatling Groink?
Which
I've
one
talked
is
about
it?
the Groink for so long. It's years of me talking about it. I'm bringing it
I
up
don't know
again.
their names.
Is that the guy that's in the Smash Brothers level, the bug-looking guy?
Oh no, that's the Spotty Ball
That's like-
Orb.
Oh, okay.
Actually, buddy, you should ask. This
Oh,
guy?
sure.
Yeah, I'm all about it. I'm all about
And the
that
other
guy.
game that we're playing is basically every time we get together to make games, we play at least like a half hour of Smash Brothers Melee still.
Really?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah,
I
it's a classic.
started off being awful, and he has made me get better.
You beat me
With
once
his
today.
amazing skills. I mean, I beat you sometimes.
Yeah.
It's hard, though.
We've had even days.
Huh. What do you think of the dudes who are making Smash Brothers Brawl just into Smash Brothers Melee again?
I
They're hacker
think
dudes.
that they should probably play Melee because it'll probably be a little better. But I don't know. There's like
What is this? This is
people are like modding it to make it like
just like
faster
curve the
and,
difficulty
yeah.
and curve the gameplay.
Make the
to
grab,
be more
like,
Yeah,
there's
bring back
something
wave
like
dashing and all the
Yeah.
kind of idiosyncrasies
What's
to
the,
it.
what is the point of doing that? Like,
I hate to be a jerk, but they could just make a new game or make any number of things or just play...
like mod Melee to put in the brawl kit. Like,
yeah, like
Wouldn't that be
the
easier?
only benefit I can imagine from that is like the updated graphics and the characters.
yeah,
Like,
I mean
what-
the brawl is beautiful. That's I don't
Brawl,
really
I mean,
like
it
Brawl.
is.
The one thing I do like about it is that it just looks so good.
Yeah,
character
I like the
design is so
roster
awesome.
a lot too. Yeah, agreed.
They weakened everybody so much, though.
Did they? I don't know. I'm too
Yes,
dumb to
well,
notice. Yeah.
Samus sucks in that game.
License to Bill asks, what game can you always go back to?
That game.
Smash Brothers?
Mario Kart
Yeah.
64 is like one of my number one.
Can you
Really?
guess what my answer to this would be?
I mean, either Street Fighter or Ocarina of Time.
No, I'm surprised you can't think of it. I would say Silent Hill 2. For that.
Oh yeah,
Really?
this kid.
Silent Hill 2?
The other day,
What? Go for it.
The other day I think I was talking about Amnesia, and I was like, I think that game's pretty scary. And Emmett's like, have you played Silent Hill 2? It's like his like golden standard of scary games that he doesn't always talk about. We make I make it seem like he does more than he does, but
You sounded surprised that I said I can keep coming back to it, though. Are you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you
Because
surprised
it's to me that game is a little bit like, other than the multiple endings and stuff, it's sort of like Pulp Fiction in that it's all about the way the idea is first presented to you and not knowing what's going to happen next and being shocked for the first time you see some of the stuff that happens in that. And then after you know it and see it, the gameplay doesn't really hold up in the same way that I'd say like Resident Evil 4 would. Like, I can play through Resident Evil 4 over and over again just because the moment-to-moment decisions you have to make in terms of gameplay are so interesting. Whereas Silent Hill, it's not bad, but it's maybe I'm not attached to it in the same way that you are, or maybe I missed something.
I mean, I don't. Yeah, I want to make more of an argument for it than just I love its atmosphere, and like I was drawn to it, and I like want to keep coming back to it for that reason. Like, you're right. I mean, the gameplay is awful. Like, from a conventional like action game perspective, like the gameplay is awful. But I'd like to believe that that's purposeful. That like I hold it to such a high standard because I think of it as like they did all these things on purpose to make it as just like raw scariness as possible. Like it's impossible to move. Like, it takes like 4 seconds to turn your guy around to shoot. Like, it takes forever to reload. You can't see around corners and all this stuff. Like, there's no heads-up display. Like, all this stuff might be, you know, specifically the action might be considered bad design or like not give it a good value. But I think it's actually one of its biggest strengths is its atmosphere that is created not only via like the soundtrack, how the graphics work, the interaction you have with it, but like the atmosphere, the lighting. Like nothing is wasted in that game, in my opinion. Every single thing, every single aspect of you playing it is just there for the purpose of making it scarier. And I could talk about this all day, so I would absolutely.
I should give it another try. Make a compelling case. And I never thought that the gameplay was bad in it. It's just, again, my moment-to-moment decisions were never all that interesting to me in that game because I didn't feel the need to keep the enemies away from me like I do in Resident Evil. If I get a good
I mean, you can't play.
weapon.
You can't play Silent Hill for that, though. I mean, that's not what it's for. I guess for some reason I just like will probably never get used to the first time that you see Pyramid Head behind those bars in the apartment. Like, I will never not be scared by that. I don't know if it's just me, but like I think it's the way they set up the atmosphere.
No, a lot of people think it's one of the best games ever made. You're definitely not alone on that. And to me, it sounds like it's just one of those games you just love to be there in the world that it presents to you. That's how I am with it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I wish I could make a better case for it than that, but I mean,
no, you made a good case. You made a fine case. I hope I didn't treat you like your case was bad. It's a great
not
case.
at all.
Stop.
Yeah, we like you guys. I like you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about what I said. I'm that way with like Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Maybe not
totally.
the best made movie, but I just want to be there, and I'll watch it any day of the week. I love it. I'm thinking about watching it right now. Okay, we've got 10 minutes left to show. We got to make sure that we do all the things we want to do while we can. What games are you excited to see coming out? Says C Gaia 2. Are there any games on the horizon that you're interested in coming out?
Not a ton right now. I haven't been paying as much attention lately, but yeah, I don't know. I want to see. I can't think of the name. There's a new RPG that's I think 3DS that might not be coming out in the States. Is it Bravely Default or is that?
Oh yeah.
Else?
Yeah, Flying Fairy, I think, Bravely Default. by
Yeah,
Square Enix.
maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Actually, I
that's
might be
a cool
thinking of
one.
something else.
Probably not. I think you're thinking of that. If you're thinking of the 3DS game, the other one's Beyond Labyrinth, I think it's called. That's another 3DS game that's probably never coming out here that looks all right.
Oh, and Ni no Kuni. It started like stick on JRPGs, but Ni no Kuni, I think it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Studio Ghibli nerd, so that's like pretty big up on my list. And I don't think a ton of people know about this, but a friend of mine, Chris Mekris, is working on a game called Fader, which is like it reminds me a little bit of like Another World, although it's like much more fluid and sort of evolving gameplay than that. But it's like it's two screens overlaid on top of each other with a character on each screen, and you control sort of both. It was an IGF finalist for visual design, or maybe it was an honorable mention for visual design. And it just like it looks so cool and so fun. So I hope that that's going to come out soon. I don't know actually.
That sounds really interesting. Yeah. I'll see if I can get him on the show. That'd be fun.
There's definitely a trailer or the video that was submitted to IGF online somewhere.
I think I've seen it, but I've got a real foggy recollection of it. I think you'll like Pikmin 3 from what I've played. If you like Pikmin 2,
I hope so. The question is like, will I buy a Wii U? I don't know.
They should give you one. I'll ask them about that. Yeah, you should just have one because they really want a lot of interesting, cheap, downloadable games on the 3DS and the Wii U, and your games would be good on there. You've got cred.
Oh,
If you want to put your games on the Wii U, it's not multi-touch though. It's just regular touch.
But there's a whole the different sort of. I mean, there's lots of other cool possibilities to explore.
Yeah, I would want to make new games for the Wii U.
Different stuff.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I hope you do.
One of my favorite games is not favorite games, but one of the games that I like sort of love in a weird way the most is Crystal Chronicles, and I really want them to do something like that for the Wii U, but who knows?
Yeah, I hope that they do. The last Crystal Chronicles on the Wii, Crystal Bearers. It had like 5 names. It was Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles: The Crystal Bearers, and it is not bad. It is a cool game about being a psychic jerk, but it's not like a crowd pleaser. It did not make a lot of money.
I really liked the first one, and I played a little bit of the DS one, and then like it just felt like they were taking a lot of the magic out of that game when they made the sequel, so I didn't look forward to it.
Yeah, well, I think you will get a lot of that kind of they call it asymmetrical gameplay, where the person with the screen controller has a slightly different experience than the people with the traditional controllers. They're definitely doing a lot of that. Did you play Pac-Man Versus on the GameCube?
I didn't. Somebody told me about that recently. I really want to play that.
Yeah, you should definitely check it out.
I played Four Swords.
Oh, how'd you like that?
Similarly, I mean, it doesn't have as much of like a... I feel like it has less replay value than the Crystal Chronicles, because Crystal Chronicles, you kind of choose your route and do different stuff, but...
Yeah, I'll buy that.
I liked it. I liked it.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff on the Wii U so far. I was having a good time with it. How about you, Emmett? What would thing you want do good?
I'm really looking forward to this game called I think it's going to be for iOS, called Super Beatdown Academy, and all I know about it right now is that basically it's going to be Street Fighter-esque. What if there was something like what if there was an all-girls school for learning martial arts or something like this, and like I don't know. A bunch of my friends in the games community are working on it, and I'm really psyched to see what that team comes up with, because there's a lot of really talented people on that team, and the idea sounds just kind of like crazy enough to work, in my opinion.
Sounds incredible. Is it going to be a fighting game or more of a?
That's the impression that I get. Yeah.
Whoa.
From what I've heard of it, it's going to be like a one-on-one sort of Street Fighter style, but maybe you can like fly or something. I don't even know. I'm psyched to see what that team comes up with.
Super Beatdown Academy sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I'll definitely keep an eye peeled for that. I've always wanted a fighting game set in a high school. I don't know why. That just seems to fit right for me somehow.
A food fighting game set in a high school, that would be something.
A what? A what?
A food fighting game.
A food fighting game.
Like it could still be one-on-one,
I feel like that would be
just fight with food instead of your fists.
I feel like that could just be like a character within a high school fighting game.
Yeah, but
I want food-based unlockables, though, man.
We're gonna do that already.
I think every character could fight with different foods they eat. You could take a look at the different kind of foods people are eating.
Yeah.
Different menu based on
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, menu-based command list.
Maybe
Absolutely.
like Animal Crossing. Depends on when you play.
Well, this is such a good idea we made. Will you make your idea
Good
that I
job.
Do it.
said you should
Good
make?
job.
Thanks.
I
No, I
have to
seriously
draw
think
this.
I grew up with Food Fight, which is a game you guys might not know exists, and every time, yeah, Food Fight, you should play it. It's
I remember like
it's on the
Princess
Atari 2600.
Tomato.
Oh yeah, it's an RPG. Yeah, no, this is an action game where you just throw food at people angrily. It's called Food Fight. Check it out.
One of the first like projects I did in school related to games was a game called Food Wars. I did the art for it, and it was like we made like one level where you had to fight a rat king who was like animating all the food, and the food was like trying to kill you. It was a really like foolproof concept.
What was that rat doing there? What?
Wait, do you mean a rat king like a rat, like many rats with all their tails? Like
No, like a big rat with a crown. It was called Food Wars: Rise of the Rat King.
It'd be so much cooler if it was like an actual like sewer rat.
You're right.
Or whatever.
I wasn't.
Yeah, I assumed it was. Yeah, and it could be when you remake it someday.
I didn't have enough life experience.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But now that you're 23,
Now that I've lived in
easily-
New York for 3 years.
And Saltobot wants to know: is it possible to see Heads Up Hot Dogs on the DS? I assume he also means 3DS. Is that at all
Not
possible?
right now. It's not possible now. There's no plans
Who
for
knows
that,
what
but it
the
would be
future
really
holds?
cool.
That would be really cool. And me personally, I've never thought of that before.
I've heard that it's very hard to get a dev kit for the DS. But hey,
Yeah, but I know two guys, and they're nice guys.
do they have a dev kit?
Yeah, they're two different dev kit guys I know, and they're looking to just put as many games on the eShop as they can, especially if
Okay.
they're relatively simple and you put them out for minimum price. Yeah, so let me know if you want to talk to those guys. They're good guys.
That'd be
Tell them
cool.
to send me a
license-
email.
Oh sure, yeah, we're friends now, so things can happen. It's
We're
great.
old bros.
What did you think of Resident Evil 5? Asked License to Bill. This might be our last question before you guys wrap up. Resident Evil 5, what'd you think?
I assume that's to me, and I'm very disappointed to say that I've never played it.
Oh, can I answer that?
Yeah, go for it.
I played it for like 20 minutes, so I didn't give it a fair chance. I didn't think it was scary to be doing it. I thought it was less scary inherently to be doing it with a person sitting next to me, and I thought it was. I only played like the beginning of the game where it's like sunny and I don't know. It just like it felt like Resident Evil 4, but not as good. And I loved Resident Evil 4. It was my first Resident
All
Evil.
I have to go off of on that game is Yahtzee's review of it, so I have absolutely no credibility in a discussion about Resident Evil 5.
I would skip it at this point.
Yeah,
Resident Evil.
that's what I've heard.
Sure. It's not a badly made game by any stretch of the means, and it would have been more interesting if it was just called racism, because that was their original concept. It was just like, black people are scary, and that's where the fear was going to come from. But then they
Racism
chickened off on
evil
that
fire.
idea. Yeah, it would have been
that's
like
awful.
it would have been legitimately interesting, maybe offensive, but at least interesting then.
Yeah.
But they backed off on that idea, so the original theme of xenophobia is kind of lost, and
Yeah.
all you're left with is a co-op third-person shooter with not very good controls that's not scary either. At least
Yeah.
Resident Evil 6 goes so far into just being an action game that you don't even think of it as a Resident Evil game anymore. Resident Evil 5 is kind of the worst of both worlds in that way. The Mercenaries mode is a lot of fun, though. Okay, we have 1 minute left. Yeah, Mercenaries is great. It's kind of its own, it's kind of a arcade type thing. So we have 1 minute left. God, we've had fun. At least I have.
Yeah,
Yeah, I had a great time.
me too.
Do you have an okay time? That's
Yeah,
good.
I wish we could do this every day.
You know, that would be great,
I wish
wouldn't
we
it?
could do this every day.
We'll make it special, though. We'll have you back on in the fall for sure.
Yeah,
when,
can I just say, am I allowed to say a URL?
Yeah, sure.
Can I just say
Yeah.
www.headsuphotdogs.com? Because we
Sure,
haven't really officially plugged.
Absolutely. Headsuphotdogs.com. Go to it. And follow you on the tweeters. What are your twits? What are your
Yeah,
tweet
I'm Raj
addresses?
Phenomenal.
Emmett 9001, EMMETT 9001.
I'm not going to spell astronomical.
They're young and funny and cute. Are you guys single?
Oh, you.
I am single. Ladies!
Yeah, single men on the internet that you can talk to. It's incredible. You never find that kind of thing. Good-looking ones, too. Talented. And you can follow me at tronnots.com and watch the show. It's on Twitch TV, Destructoid, and it's going to be on iTunes, too. You can get our show on iTunes if you're just watching this for the first time. And review us.
In the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Your game will be on iTunes. This podcast will be on iTunes under sup, Holmes, ?
The world will be on iTunes.
Give us like ratings and stuff. There's like star ratings on the App Store, right? Give us some star ratings.
And it makes a big difference. Give us all star ratings.
I mean, when it's out.
Sorry, we don't want to interrupt your close. Sorry.
That's okay. No, what I'm saying about me applies to you as well. Give Heads Up Hotdogs 5 stars. Give this podcast 5 stars, starring Diego and Emmett. Give us all good ratings and help us to prosper. Because it's hard out there, you know? It's very competitive. We could all just go out of business any second. Right?
Yeah, don't say that, please.
Yeah, don't joke about that.
Well, first Holmes was born, then he got fat, bald, and tired. Sup, Holmes?